They said I stole hundreds of dollars from the till, but I swear to you, I never touched that money. That was the line echoing in my head the night my world flipped upside down. My name's Jake, 27, and I've been working the overnight shift at Murphy's Gas for almost 3 years. I'm the kind of guy who covers shifts when people call in, who refills windshield buckets without being asked, and who never complains when the coffee runs out halfway through the night. People say I'm too nice, but I just try to do my job right. My boss, Mr. Holloway, is strict about cash counts, but he's usually fair. My coworker Lisa, who handles the evening shift before me, is sharp and ambitious. She's been angling for the assistant manager spot. Then there's Marty, the part-timer, who often shows up late but somehow never gets written up. On the night everything unraveled, I walked into a shift that felt perfectly normal, until Mr. Holloway stormed in with a printout from the register and eyes that could burn through steel. "Jake," he said, "we need to talk about some missing money. Subscribe if you want to hear workplace stories that will make you question who you'd trust. And tell me, what would you do if your boss accused you of theft on the spot?" And that was the exact moment I realized someone had set me up. I froze when Mr. Holloway shoved the printout into my hands. The receipt showed a $200 shortage from the register, exactly during the last handoff between Lisa's shift and mine. I had signed the logbook as usual, but now it looked like my name was tied to the missing cash. "Jake, you've always been reliable," Mr. Holloway said, his voice flat. "But rules are rules. If this isn't explained, it's on you." I tried to breathe steadily, but my chest felt tight. The till was balanced when I came in. Lisa even joked about being late to dinner as she rushed out the door. And Marty? He wasn't even scheduled that day. None of it made sense. I replayed every detail, the drawer count, the customer line, the gas pumps. Nothing unusual, except Lisa had insisted on counting the cash herself before leaving. Normally, we double-check together. That detail now felt like a sharp thorn digging deeper into my mind. I wanted to protest right there, but Mr. Holloway's glare warned me this wasn't the time. Instead, he told me he'd be reviewing the cameras. My stomach dropped. If the footage was missing or altered, how could I prove my innocence? I stayed quiet, but I knew one thing: someone wanted me gone. And the next morning, rumors started spreading faster than I could keep up. By the time my shift ended, whispers were already circling. When I stepped outside into the gray morning, 2 regulars I usually chat with gave me strange looks. One even muttered, "Didn't think you had it in you." My stomach twisted. Somehow the rumor had already painted me as a thief. When I came back that evening, things felt colder. Lisa wouldn't meet my eyes, and Marty smirked like he knew something I didn't. I tried to focus on restocking the shelves and brewing the cheap station coffee, but every movement felt under a microscope. Even customers seemed to linger at the counter just a little too long, as if waiting to see if I'd slip up. The smallest mistake, dropping coins, miskeying a pump number, suddenly felt like a guilty confession. And I could sense Mr. Holloway watching me more than usual, arms crossed by the door whenever I closed out a transaction. I knew I had nothing to hide, but that didn't stop the creeping paranoia. If they truly thought I stole the money, how long before I lost not only my job but also my reputation? That night, as I carried the trash bags out back, I spotted something near the dumpster that made my blood run cold. Near the dumpster, half buried under a cardboard box, lay a crumpled receipt ledger, the kind we use to log every drawer count. My name wasn't on it. Instead, I saw Lisa's neat handwriting, showing her final cash count before my shift. But here was the shocking part: the ledger recorded the drawer as balanced. No shortage at all. If this was the original record, then how had it suddenly become a $200 deficit under my name? I slipped the damp pages into my jacket, my hands trembling. This wasn't a simple mistake. Someone had altered the records after Lisa clocked out. The next morning, I decided to test the waters. Casually, I asked Lisa if she had balanced the till before leaving. She gave a quick smile and said, "Of course. Perfect as always." But her eyes darted away, just for a moment, and that flicker told me more than her words ever could. Meanwhile, Marty strolled in, late again, joking about how money disappears when you least expect it. The way he grinned at me made me wonder if this was more than Lisa alone. I suddenly realized, this wasn't just about a missing $200. Someone wanted to pin me as the fall guy. And then, Mr. Holloway called me into his office with new evidence. Mr. Holloway slid a folder across the desk toward me. Inside were photocopies of register slips, all stamped with my initials. On paper, it looked undeniable, I had signed off on the drawer being short. My throat tightened, because I knew I had never signed that page. I leaned closer. The handwriting looked like mine, but the strokes were slightly off. Someone had forged my initials. My palms sweated as Mr. Holloway asked the question that made my stomach drop. "Jake, why would someone on my team fake these signatures if it wasn't you?" I had no answer. It was the perfect trap. If I denied it, I looked defensive. If I stayed quiet, I looked guilty. I wanted to scream that Lisa had balanced the drawer before me, that I had found the discarded ledger, that something here was wrong. But without hard proof, it was my word against everyone else's. As I sat there under his stare, I realized this was bigger than just losing my job. If my boss believed I was forging records, this could follow me anywhere, any reference, any background check. My entire future was on the line. Mr. Holloway tapped the desk once. "Think carefully, Jake. Because I need an answer by tomorrow." Would you have spoken up right then, or stayed silent until you had proof? That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those forged initials staring back at me. If Mr. Holloway reported this to corporate, it wouldn't just end with me losing the job, I could be investigated for theft or fraud. $200 might not sound like much, but on paper it was enough to brand me a criminal. I decided I needed to gather proof, quietly. First, I checked the trash again behind the station, searching for more discarded pages. Nothing. Then, I thought about the cameras. Our store had old security footage that backed up to a digital recorder in the office. If Lisa or Marty had messed with the cash, there should be something on those tapes. The problem? Only Mr. Holloway had the password to access the archives. I'd have to convince him to let me review them, or find another way. Meanwhile, Lisa was suddenly extra friendly, asking if I wanted coffee when I clocked in. The shift felt tense, her smile never reaching her eyes. Marty, on the other hand, joked loudly about people losing their math skills, making sure customers overheard. The pressure was suffocating. Every beep of the register sounded like a countdown to disaster. And then, during the slow hours past midnight, I noticed something strange about the office door. Around 2 in the morning, when the store was empty, I wheeled a mop bucket past the office. That's when I saw it. The door wasn't fully closed. Mr. Holloway always locked it, especially after hours, but this time the latch hadn't caught. My heart pounded. Inside, the glow of the monitor showed the security system login screen. Someone had been in here recently. I stepped closer and noticed smudges on the desk, like fingerprints on the dust near the keyboard. Whoever it was had tried, and failed, to break in. I hesitated. Walking into that office without permission could cost me everything, but if someone was tampering with the cameras, this was my only shot. I nudged the door and slipped inside, careful not to disturb anything. On the corner of the desk sat a sticky note. 3 numbers were scribbled in Lisa's handwriting. She always dotted her 7s with a little curve. My stomach twisted. It looked like part of a password. If she'd been trying to access the security system, why? I slipped back out before the cameras rolled back on their cycle, heart racing so fast I thought customers might hear it. The next day, Mr. Holloway told me the security footage for the missing cash hours had been accidentally erased. The next morning, Mr. Holloway called me over again, his face a mask of frustration. "Jake, I checked the footage from last night. Somehow, it's gone. The hours when the shortage supposedly happened. Erased." I felt my stomach drop. Someone had deleted the files. If it wasn't me, then it had to be someone else, and now the one piece of evidence that could clear my name was gone. Lisa was hovering nearby, casually sipping her coffee, her eyes too calm for someone involved in a crisis. Marty, on the other hand, kept glancing at me with those half-smirks that made my skin crawl. I could feel suspicion radiating off them, or maybe it was just my own paranoia. I knew I had to act fast. I couldn't wait for Mr. Holloway to decide my fate. I started retracing every transaction, every shift handoff, looking for inconsistencies. And that's when I found it, a small receipt tucked under the counter, one that hadn't been logged anywhere in the system. The handwriting, clear, deliberate, unmistakable, pointed to one person. Who do you think tampered with the footage, Lisa, Marty, or someone else entirely? Holding that hidden receipt in my hand, I finally felt a thread of hope. The numbers matched the missing amount, and the handwriting was unmistakably Marty's. Every joke he made about people losing their math skills now cut like a knife. He had been setting me up all along, while Lisa probably knew more than she let on. I started piecing together the timeline. Marty was on shift during the days with the mysterious shortages, yet he always managed to vanish when anyone needed to check the drawers. Lisa, ambitious as she was, could have been helping him, or just staying silent to protect herself. And Mr. Holloway? He believed in rules, not excuses. If he ever discovered the truth too late, it would be my reputation on the line. I needed a plan that was clever enough to expose Marty without getting me fired in the process. I couldn't confront him directly, he was too slick, and one wrong word could make him pivot the blame back to me. So, I decided on a quiet approach: track his movements, collect every little slip, and wait for him to slip up again. Every recorded transaction, every receipt, every casual comment would be my ammunition. The next shift, I set up a small trap, one that would make sure Marty didn't realize he was being watched. But even as I readied myself, I sensed Lisa's eyes on me, calculating. And then, the moment came, a mistake so small, it could blow the whole scheme wide open. It happened during the quietest part of the night, when only a few late customers trickled in. Marty reached for the register drawer without anyone noticing, but I had already positioned myself nearby, pretending to mop the floor. My heart hammered as I watched him slip the extra cash into his pocket, the very same amount that had been missing. I stepped forward, keeping my voice calm but firm. "Marty. What are you doing?" He froze, eyes wide, and for a moment I thought he'd deny it. But then a laugh, nervous and forced, escaped him. "You don't understand," he stammered. "It's just a little." "Enough," I cut in. "I've traced everything. The receipts, the shifts, even the ledger I found in the trash. I know it's you." Lisa appeared at the doorway, arms crossed. Her expression shifted subtly, relief? Or guilt? I couldn't tell. Marty's face turned pale. "You can't prove anything," he said, but the confidence had left him. I held up the photocopies, the sticky note with the password numbers, and the hidden receipt, the evidence stacked against him like bricks. The customers glanced over, sensing tension, while I stood my ground, voice steady. "I don't want anyone else getting blamed. Own up, or I go to Mr. Holloway right now." Marty hesitated, and that pause was all I needed to know I had the upper hand. By the time Mr. Holloway arrived, Marty had confessed, his voice barely audible over the hum of the night pumps. I took the money," he muttered, eyes fixed on the floor. Lisa stood beside me, finally exhaling, relief written all over her face. Mr. Holloway's expression softened, but his tone stayed firm. "Jake, I should have listened to you sooner. I see now that someone was manipulating the records." He turned to Marty, who shrank under the scrutiny. "This is serious. You'll be suspended immediately and reported to corporate." The tension in the store eased as word of the confession spread. Regulars looked over, surprised, whispering about how the night shift hero had uncovered the truth. Even Marty's smirk was gone, replaced with the shame of getting caught red-handed. Lisa gave me a small nod, acknowledging the part I'd played in exposing the deception without making anyone else a scapegoat. It felt good, but I also realized that trust here had been broken, and the night would leave a mark on everyone involved. I finally allowed myself to breathe. The ordeal wasn't just about the money anymore, it was about proving that honesty mattered, even when the odds were stacked against you. The real question now hung in the air: could the team rebuild trust after such a betrayal? With Marty suspended and Lisa finally cleared of suspicion, I had a moment to reflect. The night had been chaotic, filled with fear and doubt, but it highlighted something crucial: honesty matters more than appearances. Marty's greed had set the chain of events into motion, and his manipulation of the records made an innocent person look guilty. Lisa, caught between ambition and loyalty, had made a silent choice to protect herself, but she hadn't actively sabotaged anyone. And Mr. Holloway? He had acted on the evidence he believed was true, but perhaps he should have trusted his employee a little more. For me, the takeaway was clear: staying calm, observing carefully, and trusting my instincts made the difference. I hadn't lost my temper or jumped to conclusions, and that patience had helped me gather the evidence needed to expose the real culprit. I realized that in any workplace, the wrong person can be blamed if no one steps up. But it's equally important to act with integrity, even when it feels like the whole world is against you. Sometimes, being the good guy isn't about winning immediately, it's about holding on to your principles until the truth comes out. And as I left the gas station that morning, I couldn't help but wonder, what would happen if Marty returned after his suspension? Just when I thought the ordeal was over, a message popped up on my phone from corporate HR. They had reviewed the security logs independently and discovered something alarming. Lisa had actually noticed discrepancies weeks before the shortage and had quietly tried to alert management, but no one had acted. My chest tightened. All this time, she hadn't been hiding or sabotaging me, she had been trying to prevent the problem from escalating. Marty had taken advantage of the situation, and I had unknowingly been caught in the middle. Suddenly, the story wasn't just about me or even Marty, it was about how easily small oversights could snowball into major accusations. I felt a mix of relief and guilt. Relief that the truth was finally clear, guilt for ever doubting Lisa. She gave me a small, awkward smile when we crossed paths that night, and for the first time, I saw genuine camaraderie returning to the night shift. But the twist didn't end there. Corporate also hinted at a review of Mr. Holloway's management practices. He'd been quick to suspect and slow to verify, almost costing an innocent employee his job. The gas station that night felt quieter, but I knew things had changed forever. Trust had been broken, lessons had been learned, and the consequences were far-reaching. And then, just as I was about to clock out, Marty returned to the store. Marty stepped through the sliding doors, acting casual, but I could feel the tension in the air. He tried to pretend like nothing had happened, but his nervous glances betrayed him. I met his eyes and held my ground. "You really thought you could come back and act normal?" I said, keeping my voice low but firm. "Everyone knows what you did." He hesitated, then muttered something about needing the hours, but it sounded hollow even to him. Lisa watched from across the counter, giving me a subtle nod of support. Mr. Holloway appeared behind her, face set, arms crossed, a silent warning that this was the last chance to make things right. I didn't want to escalate further. I simply pointed to the register, then to the cameras, then back at Marty. "You're done here unless you come clean again. HR already knows everything." The fear in his eyes was palpable, and I realized that sometimes justice doesn't need shouting or theatrics, it's about quietly standing your ground while the truth catches up. The rest of the night went on without incident, but the shift felt heavier. Everyone knew boundaries had shifted, trust had been tested, and consequences had real weight. I couldn't help but think, even in the smallest workplaces, the ripples of dishonesty can travel far and fast. And finally, the night shift was mine again, on my terms. By the end of that week, Marty had been officially let go, and HR made it clear that any future tampering would result in immediate termination. Lisa received recognition for her quiet diligence, and Mr. Holloway learned the importance of verifying facts before jumping to conclusions. For me, the experience left a mark. I realized that in any workplace, whether it's a gas station, coffee shop, or office, integrity matters more than convenience, and patience often pays off. Standing your ground with evidence and honesty isn't just about proving you're right, it's about protecting everyone from the fallout of deception. Customers who had witnessed parts of the drama now looked at me with respect. My reputation, once on the line, had been restored, and stronger than before. Trust, once broken, could be rebuilt, and I felt proud to have helped do just that. The moral was clear: stay observant, act with integrity, and never underestimate the small details, they often hold the truth. And sometimes, karma finds a way to balance the scales. If you've ever been blamed for something you didn't do, or had to uncover the truth in a tricky situation, share your story in the comments. Subscribe for more true workplace drama and follow my journey, because honesty, courage, and a little patience can turn even the worst nights into a story worth telling.